That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
It stinks.
Alright, so today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Amazon Prime TV series, I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yep, after all the teasing throughout the news and the updates of the show, we finally seen the last episode and are ready to talk about it.
We're ready. I've been ready to talk about this show.
True.
And again, it's in name only. There are certain elements that tie it to the movie, and those elements are the same basic elements that tie it to the original book. For those that don't know, I Know What You Did Last Summer was originally a book by Lois Duncan, who she wrote a lot of teen thriller books back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And this one came out in 1973. It is called I Know What You Did Last Summer. And it does have the same character names as the characters in the movie. In the TV series, it's all new characters. There's no tie to the book or the movie at all with the characters.
Okay. I'm still learning about the book myself. I haven't read it, but it's fascinating because, I mean, I guess everybody would know what the basic concept is of this, I would think by now, but...
Well, the thing is when the movie came out, Lois Duncan was pissed. And there's a little backstory to that. So in 1989, her daughter was murdered. She was sitting at a stoplight, I believe, in her car. Someone just drove up, shot her in the head. They never caught the person, but Lois Duncan, she committed the rest of her life to finding her daughter's murderer. She wound up starting a research center that eventually became the nonprofit Resource Center for Victims of Violent Death, or the RCVVD. She ultimately died in 2016, still not knowing who killed her daughter. But update, just this year, in August, they arrested a man on separate charges, and he wound up confessing to the murder of her daughter. His name is Paul Apodaca, and he was picked up in New Mexico. As far as I've been able to find, they still have not charged him in connection to his confession. They're still investigating. But Lois's other children and Caitlin, that's the daughter that was murdered, her siblings, they're hopeful that they're going to finally get some closure in this.
Yeah, everybody deserves that.
Yeah, so the reason she wasn't so happy after her daughter died in 1989, she wrote one more thriller and then she was done. She said she was no longer able to bring herself to put young women in dangerous positions. She had started as a children's author. She actually wrote Hotel for Dogs.
Did she?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So she went back to writing children's books, picture books. She did a couple sequels, I think, to Hotel for Dogs. And she wrote a autobiography called Who Killed My Daughter. And she obviously was trying to find out. Her last book she ever published was a follow-up to Who Killed My Daughter called One to the Wolves. And that was released in 2013. But in 1997, when I Know What You Did Last Summer came out, and she saw the movie based on her book, she was very upset because she feels that they took her thriller, which nobody dies except for the accident at the beginning, and turned it into just a slasher, just a violent slasher, which they did. Fair assessment. That's what they did. But I think it would have been harder to sell the movie based on just what the book is without, because again, nobody except in the beginning dies. So in the book, you've got Julie, Ray, Barry, and Helen, and they're all driving, and they wind up hitting a little boy on a bike, and his name's David. But unlike in the movie, rather than dump his body in the ocean, they just kind of drive off and place an anonymous call to 911 to get an ambulance up there, but David winds up dying.
So David doesn't come back with a raincoat and kill
everybody?
No.
So David's dead. And it really is David that they hit, because in the movie, if you recall, they think it's David Egan, but really it's Ben who had already killed David Egan.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made the movie a little more complicated than the book, but the book has its complications too, because after the accident, time passes, they all split up from their friendship, just like in the movie. Ray winds up going to California for work, and Julie winds up starting dating some guy named Bud. Right, which Bud is not in the movie at all.
We're all getting an education here, guys.
Right. So Julie winds up getting a note in the mail saying, "I know what you did last summer," and she takes it over to Helen's apartment, and they call Barry over, and Barry's, like in the movie, is kind of like, well, it's a prank, obviously, because if they really knew something, they would go to the police. So they all kind of just write it off. Helen is tanning in her apartment, and she winds up meeting a new neighbor named Collingsworth, who they call Collie. Interesting name. It's the 60s, the 70s, I don't know. But Collingsworth is a new neighbor, just moved in, and after she's done talking with him, she goes up to her apartment and she finds a picture of a little boy on a bike taped to her door. So that's her message. She doesn't get her hair chopped off. She doesn't, very simple. And then Ray comes back into town, wants to get back with Julie, but she's already with Bud, and, there's that whole drama. Because you gotta have the drama.
Well, of course, yeah. If you don't have people being slashed and killed, you gotta fill up the time somehow.
And Ray winds up receiving a newspaper clipping of David being his funeral and all that, the announcements and stuff. On Memorial Day, Barry gets a call from someone who claims to have photographs of what happened and that they want to sell them to him or something like that. And so he goes to meet them, and the person winds up shooting him in the stomach. Barry doesn't die, but there's a possibility that he might be paralyzed because the bullet hits his spine. So they're all in the hospital and checking on him or whatever. And Julie and Ray decide to go visit David Egan's parents. So in the movie, it's Julie and Helen. They wind up going and meeting David's sister, played by Anne Heche. In the book, it's Julie and Ray. They go to the house. They meet the sister. The sister tells them that after David died, the mom had a nervous breakdown, and she got sent far away to some mental hospital, and their father moved to go be closer to the hospital where his wife is. So their family basically fell apart, just like in the movie, after David died. When Barry finds out that he's able to walk, he decides that, okay, now's the time. I'm going to have to warn everybody that this person that I was meeting was actually about this. Because he had kind of lied to them and said that somebody had mugged him. So he calls Helen to warn her that she's in danger, but she's out of her apartment at the time, and it's the 70s, so no cell phones. So answering machine, I guess.
Yeah, I think they had them.
But she's out, so she misses the call. She gets back to the apartment, and Collingsworth is there, and he admits to being David's brother. And you're right, he attacks Helen. She manages to lock herself in her bathroom, and as he's trying to take the doors off the hinges, she gets out the bathroom window and runs away and tries to call everybody else to warn them. Meanwhile, Julie's preparing to go out for a date with Bud, the guy that she's seeing, and her mom winds up having like a bad feeling or a premonition or something, and she's like, don't go out tonight. And Julie, being a good 1970s teenager final girl, is like, okay, Mom, I won't go out. Because, what teenager's gonna be like, oh, Mom, you've got bad feelings?
Yeah,
like, I'm going out. Like, I'm 18, I'm going out.
Because nothing bad happens when you're 18.
Right, when you're 18, you're invincible. So... but yeah, she was a good little teenager. So when Bud shows up, she's like, I'm not going out tonight. And he winds up convincing her to just go to the car, walk him out to his car to say goodnight or whatever. So they get out of the car, and Bud reveals that he is Collingsworth, which in a movie we would know.
Right.
But in the book, it's a big twist.
Well, maybe he had a fake mustache on.
Right. And well, he tells her that the reason that he goes by Bud is because his little brother David was unable to pronounce his name Collingsworth. So he just called him Bud.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
And he tries to strangle Julie, but Ray, who had gotten a call from Helen, shows up in time to basically beat him with a flashlight. And again, he doesn't die, but he beats him off Julie and beats him unconscious with a flashlight. And Ray and Julie decide, okay, it's time to tell people what happened. And that's the end. So that's the book. And you can see how it is different from the movie.
And I can see why they changed it.
Exactly.
Again, they picked up the rights to this during a time when the slasher was coming back. And
right after Scream. They were trying to make Scream.
Right, and it feels like a slasher. Like, the concept does really
it's
good
teen
for
slasher, for sure.
It's a perfect slasher concept.
Perfect slasher concept. I don't mind what they did. I can see where she's coming from.
Yes.
Based on what happened in her life. Mm-hmm. And her just distaste for violence at that point.
Yeah.
So I can see her point, but I like the updates they did to the book or to the movie. Mm-hmm. I am sad that Helen dies because I like Sarah Michelle Gellar, but you know.
Yeah, and in case you guys haven't figured it out yet, the TV show is not like the book either.
At all. So. At all. Like so let's get into the series. Now that we've gone over the book and we've all seen the movie.
I'd like to think so.
I'd like to think I wouldn't have to go point by point through the movie. Like, I did the book because I understand not everyone's read it. But yeah, like, I really hope by now that you've seen I Know What You Did Last Summer, at least the first one. Because we don't really need to talk about the others for this.
No, not at all. They're not related
They're not related to what happens in the movie, anything. So the third one especially. Fuck that third one. But yeah, so I Know What You Did Last Summer, the Amazon series. I really like what they did. And we talked about on the news when we were doing TV Roundup that we wish it had been a binge series, because they released the first 4 episodes, and that was good, because if they had done it one at a time right away, I'm not sure I would have been as invested.
Right, especially in those first couple episodes. It took a minute to kind of build
it takes
up.
a while to get the story going.
Yeah.
But by the 3rd, 4th episode, you're like, well, I'm in. Like,
and
now I have to find out what happens.
And by the 3rd and 4th episode, you do realize that everything they just went over is important.
Everything. Every little tiny detail is important.
Yes. Like this one is way more convoluted storyline than the movie was.
But they had more time to do so.
Exactly. Like, I thought it was going to be the same exact plot, but with just stretched out like the Scream series did. But no, it is not. I mean, it is, but it's not. Yeah, we're going to go into the spoilers in a second, so we're going to try to keep
this is all still spoiler-free.
Spoiler-free, yeah, because...
the basic plot is the same. You've got a group of friends who are leaving a party, kind of drunk. There's a reason that the girl driving is upset, and they wind up hitting someone in the road.
And this is the only scene that I think really looks like it was lifted out of the movie.
Right, the road, everything looks just like the road in the movie.
It's on a cliff, the curve, everything.
Only this, again, the TV show takes place in Hawaii. Because the movie takes place in a little small fishing town in New England.
Yeah.
So this takes place in Hawaii, which is also gorgeous visuals.
Oh, yeah.
It gives you great scenery. But yeah, so... They hit someone on this road that looks just like the road in the movie. They decide to hide the body, and it goes from there. So from there on, it is nothing like the movies at all, other than that they get notes.
They get notes. They're still getting picked off one by one.
Yeah.
But the friends
are different. The plot is different. The reason that this person was hit was different.
Yeah, they deal with psychological issues. They deal with grief. They deal with mental abuse, mental health. Like, it's a deep show,
right? Like, and the characters are all interesting in their own way. Like, every single one of them, you may not like them all, but they're all interesting.
Okay, so that's a good point. So I finally figured out towards the end of the series is why it makes a better binge show than to come back every week. And it's because none of the characters are really likable.
No, they are not.
All, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing.
Even at the end, when you're with your final girl, you don't really like her.
No, you don't really root for her, and we'll go into that in the spoilers because of everything that she's done and does. You do in the beginning, you know she's the final girl. You know you kind of like her.
But yeah, she just destroys her character along the way.
And the guy that all the girls like, I don't understand.
What a fucking creeper.
A weirdo. Like, you know, your choice is yours, but my God, the red flags are there with this guy. And I think that's the problem, is even the dad and the cop and everything, like, they're just
nobody's likable in this.
No.
And I just want to say that the dad, the one who plays the dad of the twin girls, who are the main girls, he has got strong in his acting style and sometimes in his face. He's got very strong Keanu Reeves vibes.
Yeah, this guy came from the Keanu Reeves
School of Acting. Yeah, oh my God.
Sure.
I was sitting there like, Keanu Reeves could be playing this role easily.
Right.
Like, he's got like the John Wick long, like he's blonde. Yeah. That's the only difference. Because he's got the long kind of haggard face, the beard, the long hair, the surfer laid back voice.
Yep. Like, if it was Keanu Reeves, he'd be too likable. Right. So I think that's, not the
he does have
option, but he does have that, but boy.
I swear to God, like, I was going, this guy, like, he is either a huge Keanu Reeves fan or, I don't know.
You can't unsee it. Like,
it's like Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean. You're like, well, he's just being Keith Richards. Yeah. Like, that's what I'm like, this guy's just being Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, I assume this is what the guy really sounds like. I've never seen
I don't think he's putting
else.
A voice on.
But like he also gives me a little bit of a Chris Evans in Infinity War vibe with the beard and everything.
And sometimes the intensity of his face. And,
just a little bit. But
just a little bit.
Way more Keanu Reeves.
Way more Keanu Reeves. I do. And one of the people who is a trash person, what was her name? Courtney.
Yeah.
She plays one of the teens' moms. And this woman is a trash woman, but I love her. I did. I was upset when she died because I was like, well, there goes the entertainment.
Yeah, I mean, there's...
Same with Kelly, who is Courtney's friend. They're both trailer trash, like, trash people. But God, do I love them both.
Yeah. And like, a lot of them, they don't all make it out alive. No. I don't think that's a spoiler. I think everybody understands that. It is a slasher series.
Right, a lot of people die in this. Like, a lot of people that you meet, don't like, a lot of people die. And
in the end, when you finally get there, like, it feels satisfying, but it also leaves the door way open for another season. Which I didn't think they were going to do.
I would compare this, if you saw the MTV Scream series... That's what I would compare this to, because that also, it took the premise of what Scream was, but then made it its own unique story, and got way more complicated in the storytelling.
Yeah, and you can do that in a TV series.
Yeah, and I did like the Scream series, the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, so, but anyways, I think that's a good summary of the show.
We can't really say much else without giving away a lot, so... We're gonna have to go into our spoiler section. I will say real quick, it is 8 episodes, so it's not gonna take, too long to watch it. I will say go watch it. It's worth your time. If you're into thrillers, mysteries, slashers, it's all of those.
It is gonna pull you in. If you can binge it, which now you can.
Yeah, now all the episodes are out.
You're gonna finish it in 2 to 3 days.
Yeah. If not one day, because like it will. We would get to the end of one episode and be like, okay, next one, and then once it went to week after the 4th episode, we were like, ah.
Yeah, but here's what I found though, and I realized we got busy and everything. It's our busy time, but we didn't watch it always on Friday nights anymore. No, it became we'll watch it this night, we'll watch it that night.
Right, when we can.
When we can. If it would have been binged and all there at the time, I guarantee we would have had this review up 2 or 3 weeks ago. So.
Yeah. So their fault.
My point is it does draw you in, and you're going to want to know what's going on.
Exactly.
Because, as we pointed out earlier, likable characters or not, some of the best TV shows have unlikable characters.
So I will say, if you haven't seen it, stop watching this now, go watch it, and then come back and watch the review, because there are some things you probably don't want to be spoiled on.
No, because the whole time we were guessing and guessing and guessing.
And that's part of the fun.
Episode.
Part of the fun is sitting there coming up with all these theories. Okay, well that just happened, so that fits into this, and And I honestly, we were watching right before we put the last episode on. He's like, okay, final theories or whatever, and I was sitting there racking my brain. And I told him, I said, the only thing I can think of is the only real big issue I have is one of the characters survived their attack. And that gave me pause, because I was like, wait a minute. And then so that got me thinking about that character, and I was like, well, that character left for 2 weeks for a reason, and no killings happened while they were gone. And I was like, but that's really all I have for that character. So we both kind of wrote off my guess, but then it turned out that I was right.
It turned out she was right. But as she said that going into it, then they immediately kind of discredited that.
Right, then I was like, oh, well, I'm wrong. Right. Obviously, I'm wrong.
And so we threw it away, and the next thing you know, it was right. And I'm like, oh, well. So we're all shocked, but I'm like, but you were right.
I'm shocked that I was right.
You were right.
Because I had very little to go on. So Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't right at all. So
I just remember wishing, because they do introduce a character late in the series, and I'm like, please don't let this person be because they didn't come in till the very second to last episode, and I'm like, but they'd been talked about throughout the series, but they didn't show up until the second to last episode, and I'm like, please do not let this person be the killer.
That is a huge pet peeve of mine, and I can't think of an example, but I've seen movies and TV shows where they do that, and all of a sudden the killer or the suspect or whoever you're tracking,
someone you've never seen
him before in your life, and it's like, how are you supposed to play along?
Yeah,
you know. So they did not do that.
This is fun to play along with. They give you plenty to play along with. My theory changed several times every episode,
and it totally will.
Yep.
All right, so
go watch it, then come back, because now we're going into spoilers.
Yep, final warning, here we go.
All right, so the series starts, again, we meet, let's go over the characters. Yeah. So we've got Lennon and Allison, who are played by Madison Iseman. Okay. Madison Iseman. So Allison and Lennon are our main characters, and they're twins, identical twins. Although when the mom shows up, she's able to instantly tell them apart. And this is a mother who abandoned them and left them for years. She hasn't seen them since they were 12 or something.
She's the character we were talking about.
Yeah, that shows up at the very end, and we're like, please don't let it be her. It wasn't, so. But yeah, so this mother who hasn't seen them in years still shows up and is like, Allison? And, so she's able to tell them apart. The father is obviously, sometimes it seems able to tell them apart. Sometimes he seems confused. But I feel like when Allison walked in after the accident, he knew it was Allison and not Lennon.
I think he did too, because when I remember of it, he went right to work on how to fix it.
He went in right into fix it mode, which was he did not pick the best way to fix it.
No.
But the dad is played by Bruce. That's the guy that we're talking about, is very Keanu Reeves in his acting, and he's played by Bill Heck.
Okay.
And I don't know if I don't think I've seen him in anything. I
don't know any of these people from anything, honestly.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of new faces.
They weren't I'm sure they've done stuff. They weren't recognizable to me.
Right. So he's Allison and Lennon's dad. Now the rest of the teenagers, we've got Margot, who's played by Brian Chu. Dylan, he's the creepy kid we were talking about, that all the girls for some reason like. His name's Dylan, and he's played by Ezekiel Goodman. Then we have Riley, and I do kind of like Riley's character, and her mom is Courtney, the one that I said was a trailer trash person that I love her. Courtney's her mom, and Courtney's, she's, I guess, half and half, because her mom's white. Yeah. So her dad must be black.
She must be. Her dad's not in the picture, apparently.
Yeah, her dad's gone. Yeah. And then the final one, who is around the least amount of time, is Johnny, played by Sebastian Amoruso. So those are our main kids. Allison and Lennon, Margot, Dylan, Riley, Johnny. Yep. And they've all got complicated history between them. And then we've got our side characters. Bruce, I already mentioned. Layla is the sheriff, and she's secretly screwing Bruce. And she's played by Fiona Renee. Then we have Clara, who is the last cult member of this cult that all committed mass suicide on the island. And she still lives there. She's the last member. Everyone kind of side-eyes her because, cult member. She's played by Brooke Bloom. Then we have Courtney, Riley's mom. She's played by Cassie Beck. Then we have Kelly, and I just wrote Guy's wife because the guy dies right away. I don't remember who he is, but she's still around as the wife because she becomes a suspect at first. Yeah. And she's fantastic. She's played by Chrissy Fitt. And then we have Mai, who is Margo's mom, and she's played by Sonia Balmores.
Okay.
So
those are our list of characters.
Those are the characters we need to care about. There's a few others, but I forgot to write down the guy that works in the snack shop that gets killed, but whatever.
Oh yeah.
He's a big but a small part of it. Right. Yeah. That's the thing, is there's a lot of people that are important but also not important, and things that are important but also not important. It's so weird.
And that's the structure of the series. Yeah. It seems more important until all of a sudden it's not, because...
And then this thing that was not important is somehow super important.
It's super important, yeah.
So what happens is the teens and these adults, some of these adults are all at this house party at Margo's house.
Yeah, and it's weird. We said this in the beginning. It's weird that there's adults and teenagers celebrating.
And they're all drinking,
is it
doing
graduation?
drugs.
What
yeah,
is it?
it's graduation.
I thought so.
Because they're all getting ready to. Because that's what the big fight between Lennon and Allison is that Lennon's going off to college.
That's okay.
So they're all at a party. Lennon is. These are her friends. Lennon is the outgoing, kind of an asshole person.
Yeah.
And Allison is very reserved. Her mother leaving affected her a lot. She's quiet. She's the quiet twin.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have many friends. The only one she really likes is Johnny. They've been like BFFs for a while. And Johnny's the only one that really cares about Allison, other than Dylan. Because Allison likes Dylan. Dylan likes Allison, but I guess they were both always too shy or whatever to say anything. And Allison is a virgin, and all these other kids are all out drinking, sexing, doing drugs.
Again, while the parents are at the party.
Hard drugs. I'm not talking they're just smoking blunts. Like, they are doing... and Riley is a drug dealer. She's got a little backpack throughout the entire series that she just deals drugs to everybody in town from. Like, everybody in town knows to go to this teenager
kids,
for drugs. And she gives Lennon a nasal spray thing full of, I don't know, MDMA, something, I don't know. Some kind of drug that's not nasal spray.
Right.
And Lennon knows that Allison is basically in love with Dylan. And Lennon got accepted to college. She's going to Michigan. She's getting out of there. Allison and Lennon do not get along, but they do. They love each other. They're twins. They have this this bond, but you can tell that they don't want to have this bond. Like,
they're very different.
Right.
People.
They love each other, but they also hate each other. It's a dynamic. And Lennon purposely lures Dylan away and sleeps with him just to make Allison mad, it seems like.
And she sleeps with him by drugging him. He's out of his mind. Now, he's not like out cold. He's functional.
And he knows that she's not Allison.
Right. But, we've all been to that part where you're too drunk.
It's a little form of rape.
It is. Yeah. It really is.
And Allison winds up recording it because come to find out, she has this like OnlyFans or something where she posts all of this content of her having sex, her and Margot having sex, because her and Margot are also a couple, but she puts it in Allison's name.
Yeah.
So everybody, when they find this account later, everybody thinks it's Allison that has been putting all these videos out. And dude, if you want to make porn, but do it in your own name. Like, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's... Yeah,
like, I don't look down on her for having an OnlyFans. I look down on her for blaming her sister for it.
Yeah, so, again, Lennon's not the best person in the world.
No.
In fact, you're not supposed to
I don't think you're supposed to like her.
I don't think so.
But anyway, so Allison finds out that she slept with Dylan at this party. They have a little fight in the bathroom, where they basically tell each other that they're glad that they're going to be separating, that she's going to the college, that Allison's staying behind. Allison tells him, nobody loves me except for mom, and mom's gone because they think their mom died. Like, they don't, Allison thinks their mom died. Lennon was told the truth by their dad at some point, which we don't know right away.
Which this doesn't happen yet. We don't know this yet. But when it does, I can't understand. He finally tells her, well, I told you your mom died because I thought it'd be easier on you.
Right. Than her just leaving because she was a cult member. Like,
I'm not so sure that that's accurate.
Well, this dad has not been making great decisions, and we're about to get to one of his worst in a minute.
Yeah.
But, so Allison and Lennon basically like, I hate you, I wish you'd die, blah, 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 and they leave. Allison had come in a sweatshirt, and Lennon had come in a jacket. Well, when Allison goes to leave, someone's on her sweatshirt making out or something, so she just grabs Allison's jacket and leaves. Allison's keys are in the pocket, so she gets in Allison's car. Lennon. It's Allison getting in. Allison gets Lennon's jacket.
Believe me, it gets confusing.
This is important, though.
Yes, it's very important.
Allison gets Lennon's jacket. Lennon's keys are in the pocket, so she gets in the driver's seat of Lennon's car, intending to just leave her there.
Yeah, but she's sitting there
steal her
for
car
a
and
moment.
abandon her.
She's sitting there.
She's sitting there gathering herself because she's upset. in the meantime, all the other kids decide, oh, we got to get out of here because something happens. I don't remember, party foul or something. And they're like, oh, we got to get out of here. Cops are showing up or something.
Yeah.
Which, okay, but the sheriff is there already and she's fucking the twins' dad. So, like, I don't think you have to worry about the cops, guys.
Yeah.
But
I honestly don't remember what it was.
Yeah, I don't remember what it was either. But they all pile into the car thinking that it's Lennon behind the wheel. Because, again, she's wearing Lennon's coat, looks just like her.
And she just
kind of goes along with it because I think she's just.
Don't they say something negative about Allison?
They do. They say something negative about Allison, and I think Dylan and Johnny both say something to stick up for her. But both Margot and Riley are like, "Fuck that bitch, let's just go."
So she just goes and just.
Yeah. So they're driving.
Plays,
Meanwhile, Lennon comes out, finds out that her jacket's gone, figures her sister took it, grabs her sister's sweatshirt, and we don't find out this till later. But she winds up having a fight with her dad about Allison, and she wants her dad to tell Allison the truth. And I think that's where a lot of the problems between the twins comes in, is that Lennon is keeping all these secrets from Allison because their dad wants her to. About their mom not really being dead, about a bunch of other stuff. Just little stuff. And I think it's weighing on Lennon that she has to keep this from Allison.
I do think that, like, not in every case can you blame somebody's psychological problems on the parents. This is one where I think you can. This is one 100%.
He is definitely not dad of the year. Let's be clear. And the mom is somehow worse. Like, when you meet the mom, she's somehow worse than the dad. Because I guess at least the dad stayed. Like, I don't know. And he does seem to love the girls.
I don't really.
This mom does not love the girls.
No, when she does come back, because she comes back for a totally different reason.
Right.
And then she runs into Allison, and she's like,
yeah, I didn't love you. I couldn't do it. My real family was the cult.
Stay away. Right. Basically, stay away from me.
Yeah, she's a bitch.
Like, yeah.
I'm glad she died. But, yeah. But, so Allison is in the car with her dad, and her dad and Lennon. Lennon and the dad are in the car. And again, we don't find this out till later. Because the way it happens in the first episode is Allison and the teens are just driving. They hit someone. Turns out that it's Lennon.
Yep. And she's dead.
She's dead. So Allison is sitting there, and they all think that it's Allison that they hit. So Allison is in shock because she just hit her sister. Yep. And so it's never corrected. No.
She just goes with it.
But because they keep flashing back throughout the series to that night to show us a little more of what really happened and what brought us to this point, we come to find out that Lennon was in a car with her dad, and they get into a bad fight, and the dad pulls over. And my dad did this to us when we were kids, too. So, like, I get it. But he never actually drove off. Like, he would drive a little bit and then pull over and be like, get back in the car. But he pulled over, and he was like, fine, get out and walk or whatever. And so...
And he really takes off.
Yeah, she gets out, and he really takes off. And...
And so that's how she gets there.
That's why she's in the road.
That she's wandering the road. But it gets worse.
It gets worse because come to find out, the very last episode, we see what really happened on that road. And come to find out, not only did the twins see each other, Allison stepped on the gas and Lennon ran toward the car.
Yeah. When I first saw this, I thought, because then she wakes up from a nightmare. I'm like, okay, it's her guilt really talking. But no, it really happened this way.
That's the way it happened.
This is the way it went down.
Lennon clearly wanted to die, and Allison wanted to kill her.
Because remember, the last they saw each other, the huge fight. They told each other they hated each other.
Lennon had just slept with the boy that Allison loved.
And Allison tells Lennon she wishes she was dead, or vice versa?
No, Allison tells Lennon that she wishes she was dead.
She was dead. She does. She flat out says, I wish you never existed, wish you weren't here. Mm-hmm. And I guess they saw each other and just, I don't know.
Collided. It was two depressed people colliding.
Yeah. Two depressed, mentally ill
teenagers, twins.
Yes.
That just collided.
Are they 18?
Yeah, they're 18 because they're graduating. Because when she takes Lennon's, what they do is they take Lennon's body And again, the teens all think it's Allison, and they put her in this cave where the tide comes in, and they're like, nobody will find her. The tide will take her body out to sea. Blah blah blah.
And I'm sure it goes without saying, but it's the same scenario as the movie. There's panic. Everyone's like, we're gonna get arrested for this. We're gonna
and
die.
they're like,
we're gonna do,
they
blah,
wind
blah.
up saying, they're like, well, let's ask Lennon, because again, they think Allison is Lennon. They're like, let's ask Lennon. It's her sister. What does she want to do? If she wants to call the cops, we'll call the cops. And so Allison, they go over and they're like, hey, what do you want to do? And Allison decides, no, we're going to get rid of the body.
And now we know why, but yeah.
Yeah. So they get rid of the body. Allison winds up going back home. Her dad can tell that she's Allison and not Lennon. She confesses what happened and tells him that she wants to go to the police. She's now having second thoughts.
Yep.
She wants to go to the police and tell them what to do. The dad is like, well, you guys move the body. Like, it's not going to seem like an accident anymore.
The dad goes...
He's like, I can't lose both of you. But it's clear, and Allison accuses him many times, and I think it is clear that he did love Lennon more.
I think it's clear, too.
And Allison accuses him that night of, well, why would you want to protect me? You love Lennon. You wanted, you're pissed at me for killing Lennon, blah, blah, blah. You wish it was me, but, that sort of stuff. So what he decides and what he forces her to do, because again, she had second thoughts and said, Dad, I want to go to the police. And he was like, no, here's what we're going to do. You're going to be Lennon because your friends think you're Lennon. You're going to go away to Michigan. You're going to live her life. You're going to go to college. You're going to study. You know what your sister was like, so you become her.
Yep.
Allison is dead. So, sure enough, year passes, and Allison goes to college as Lennon and lives Lennon's life and comes back to town as Lennon, and she's clearly depressed and upset and not doing well. It's got to be hard to live your dead twin's life knowing that you killed her. So the dad and her clearly have a strained relationship, and she's like, well, I've got to go meet the friends because that's what Lennon would do, and I'm Lennon, so like, she clearly holds it against her dad that he's making her do this. And so she goes and meets Margot, Dylan, Riley, and Johnny, and they all friended up or whatever, and
everything feels like it's all past and like relaxed now, and so it's scenes of them just partying and enjoying life.
Yeah, kind of getting back into it. Well, they're all clearly still traumatized, and some of them are upset with Lennon because she wasn't, the same. She wasn't talking to them as much when she went away to college, but that's because it's not Lennon, it's Allison. But their thing is Lennon, so they're upset with Lennon. So she's got to kind of repair these friendships that she really doesn't care about, but she needs to repair them because she's Lennon.
Yeah. She can't have anybody figure it out.
So it's a lot of scenes of her trying to repair these friendships, somewhat successfully. And then eventually she gets home and there's like a goat head in her closet and a note saying, I know what you did last summer.
So it begins.
And she doesn't tell her dad about this because, last time she told her dad about a problem, look what he made her do. So, she does tell Margot and Dylan and all her friends about it. And I think they were like, well, it's a joke. And they think it could be this guy. I can't remember his name. But he's a scumbag, and Townie, who works at the snack shop or whatever.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah.
That guy who eventually
I don't remember his
eventual
name
death by smoothie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has a cool death.
The way that he died is that they like stuck a tube or something down his throat and then turned the slushy machine on, and so he just died by slushy suffocation.
Died by slushy, basically.
And they find him, and wasn't his skin like all blue and stuff?
Yeah, he was all just foaming out of his mouth.
It was slushy everywhere.
It was still pumping it in. It looked like.
It looked really cool.
Yeah. And, like, if you really like slushies, I guess it's not a bad way to go.
Right. Death by slushy.
So,
he's no longer a suspect.
One of the more eventful deaths in the show.
Yeah, and there were a few. So, there's bees and spiders that come into play, and honey, and which we forgot to mention, when Lennon's body is put in the cave, when the teens all put Lennon's body in this cave, the reason they put her in this cave is because that's where all of these cult members had gone to die, and the the tide washes them out. And so in the cave is the name and chiseled in. Somebody went in and chiseled the name of everybody who had died.
Yeah.
In town. And
I guess they thought that her body would just be...
they thought she would be taken out to sea. But what they don't see, but we see, is Clara comes and takes Lennon's body and starts cleaning her with honey and stuff, which I guess honey is part of this cult thing.
It was never very clear to me. I don't know, maybe I missed something, but I don't understand the spiders. I don't understand the honey. It's a cult thing.
I think the honey and everything is part of the cult, because what the cult talks about is there's no saving this life. You have to make atonements in the next life or whatever. Okay. And they use the honey to prepare the bodies to go into the next life. They like coat people in honey.
That's right. So
and then the spiders, which we haven't got to yet, but the spiders are like brain-eating spiders or something.
Yeah. And it's supposed to help guide you.
Which
into the next
I
life.
don't even think those are Clara's, because remember when we find out who did it. So I think Clara was set up with the spiders. I think the spiders were taken to her house and put there. Okay. So eventually, the killer comes back and is sending more notes, is making phone calls. There's this black truck that's following Allison around that she thinks is the person, but seems like everybody in this fucking island drives a black truck, the same black truck.
We were like, okay, everybody's got the same truck.
Clara has this truck. Dylan has the truck.
Yep.
I think that the douche who died by slushy had that truck. That's why he was a suspect at some point. Like everybody,
and the dad or one of the parents.
One of the parents has this truck.
Yeah.
Everybody has this truck.
Unbelievable.
It's crazy. It did make it harder to narrow it down. So.
No. I've never been to Hawaii. Does everybody drive big black
pickup trucks? Yeah, the exact same one. So yeah, I think the spiders were definitely a setup to make Clara look more guilty after she was killed. Because again, we already said she's a red herring. Mm-hmm. So yeah, she eventually gets killed. But so meanwhile, while all these deaths are happening, because again, they'd been getting notes, they've been getting followed. The weird policeman thought that he had a lead, and he was calling the sheriff, and he's like, "I want to meet you, sheriff. I have this lead." And come to find out, nope, he got killed. And I think he's the one that got the brain-eating spiders. I'm not 100% sure on that. But someone gets killed with brain-eating spiders. No thank you. Worst nightmare. That's like my worst nightmare.
I'm gonna have to Google these brain-eating spiders.
My worst.
Real,
I fully believe they're real. Fully believe they're real. Do not care for that plot point at all.
Yeah.
Spiders can just die. No, thank you. That I was so uncomfortable watching. Like I was so itchy. I was like, I hate it. No, yeah. I hate it. So the cop and the cook at the dad's restaurant wind up getting killed, and the cook gets killed just because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time taking a shit. So the cop and the cook are dead, and they really think it's Clara at this point. So they Margot, Allison / Lennon, Dylan, and Riley all go. Because Johnny has also been killed at this point. I don't remember when or where. That's kind of a blur to me. But Johnny has been killed at this point. He's the first of the friends to die. He was the most important to Allison. Like, he's the only one that Allison actually connected with. So that one does hurt her. Mm-hmm. But she's got to carry on being Lennon, so... carries on being, and Lennon's a very cold person, so she can't show too much emotion. No,
I feel like he's just stabbed to death or something.
Yeah, it's something simple. Yeah, but he died. He had already died. So we're down to the four. We're down to Allison, Margot, Dylan, and Riley. They all go out to Clara's like compound, I guess.
Yeah,
in the woods. And they break in, and they're looking around, and Allison winds up finding a photo album that shows that her father and mother were also part of the same cult. And she's like, okay, and what the fuck?
This is where we start getting nervous that the cult leader, Clara, is actually Allison's mother.
Yeah, I was like, oh my god, she's going to wind up being Allison's real mom, the twins' real mom.
Yeah, because the dad knows
yeah.
her.
And in the album, like her and the dad look like they're real close.
Yep, and this is when we start to wonder about.
But she also finds, because previously she had found on Lennon's phone a Facebook profile for this random guy, and she sees the same guy in this photo album. So she's now like, okay, I'm gonna have to talk to my dad because I've got questions. While they're looking around, they find the brain-eating spiders as well that had killed one of the characters. And then Clara comes home. And so they're like texting each other their locations, and they're all trying to get out. Dylan tries to create like a distraction so that Riley and Allison can run, because Margot got out and texted that she was out. So Allison gets out, texts that she's home. Dylan claims that he gets out, and nobody hears from Riley. Well, Riley gets caught. She gets her arm cut off.
Yeah.
And then just kind of left there.
Mm-hmm. I think she thought she was dead.
Right. So we all thought she was dead. But then the next episode, she's still alive. She staggers up with her arm, gone. And I think she was stabbed too. And she's trying to get down to the road. She gets down to the road, and there's the car, the black truck, and it tries to like run her down, and I'm like, this girl just had her arm cut off and stabbed, like what the fuck. So she's running, she manages to get away from it. The whole episode, every time it cuts back to Riley, like her situation's worse.
You're right.
And by the end of the episode, Riley has managed to crawl all the way back to where her trailer park is, and one of the little girls that she babysits and stuff is outside on a trampoline or something and sees her and is like, Riley, and her mom or whatever is like, time to come in for dinner or whatever, stop, blah, blah, blah. And so the kids go in because time for dinner. Yeah. And Riley just kind of rolls over in the meadow, right? You can see her home, and again, we think dies.
Yeah, I thought for sure that was, the horrificness of it. Help is right there, and
she dies. She finally gives in to her injuries.
Do you remember, she put a tourniquet on her arm?
I don't remember.
I think she's just bleeding out.
Yeah, I don't remember. But then we see they have a funeral for everyone because, again, Clara, they all split up. Dylan winds up in the cave that night. He's trying to chisel Allison's name into the wall because he feels like she should be part of the memorial.
Yeah, and he's had this longing for her forever.
Forever.
So it's
and
kind of
again,
like
he doesn't know that Lennon is, So while he's there, Clara comes in dragging Riley's body. And it leaves it at them staring at each other like, what are you doing? Well, what are you doing?
Right.
Like,
and at that point, you're like, are they working together?
And the thing is Dylan and Riley seem like they were really close, good friends, right up until the party. Because, again, throughout the series, we get flashbacks of the party that shows more of what happened that night. And at some point, because Riley has a crush on Dylan. Because, again, all the girls, for some reason, like Dylan.
Yep.
Riley has this big crush on Dylan. And they had been best friends forever or whatever. And they get into the bouncy house and they're bouncing. And she tries to put a move on Dylan. And he's like, no, I like Allison, blah, blah, blah. And she gets mad at him for turning her down. And they have a little fight. And then it's been kind of awkward and tense between them since. I mean, obviously they did a hit and run in between that. But personally, it's still been awkward and tense between them because of their little moment in the bounce house. That didn't happen. The moment that never was.
The moment that could have been.
Right. So you would think he would have a bigger reaction to seeing Clara dragging Riley's body into the cave. But
that's this whole guy's MO, though.
He's real weird.
He's just very
He's the biggest red herring.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Half the series, we thought it was him.
Right. I kept flopping back and forth. I'm like, okay, well, it's not him. Oh, maybe it is him. Like, this kid's creepy.
I was checking on you. I check on everyone. Every day at low tide.
So that's where they kind of leave it. And then next scene or whatever, they find Clara's body. And Clara's dead. And Riley is posed. And standing up, posed, covered in honey. Mm-hmm. So I remember asking him, I was like, something happened in that cave because, again, Dylan and Riley were friends. I can't see Dylan just standing there watching Clara, put honey on her and pose her and stuff like that. So he must have killed Clara, but I was like, wouldn't he kill Clara right away when he sees her dragging her friend's body? And, like, why would he stand there and let Clara do the honey? Well, come to find out, yes, Dylan did kill Clara because he thought she was the murderer. But he also somehow subscribes to the cult.
Yeah, he does.
And so he was the one who covered Riley's body with honey because he was trying to help her get to the next life.
Yeah, it's him who says that explains that it's, I can help you get to the next life.
Right.
I can help you with your,
and that's when you're like, oh shit, he believes the cult bullshit.
Which again, perfect prime suspect.
Yep.
For
right.
for being a murderer.
Exactly. So the whole town knows that Claire's dead. They all think that she's, that it's over, that there's not going to be any more killings. She did it all. She's dead now, so it's going to stop. Mm-hmm. They have funerals for everybody who died, including Riley. And the whole town shows up to mourn. And Margo's mom has found out that she's doing her binging again, which... Again, during this whole time, everybody's been kind of breaking down. Margo's thing is to solve her depression or whatever she's going through is she binge eats. And this girl, super skinny, super skinny. And they show it. They show her.
She does it on video.
She
does it like through their OnlyFans
views,
or whatever site she does it on, and people are paying her, I assume.
And they tell her what to eat, and she'll sit there and just shove food. They showed this poor girl, like this poor actress.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know this is a real thing. I know this really happens.
This is a real psychological thing.
Yeah.
And so her mom finds out that she's doing this again. So after the funerals or whatever, she sends Margo away for 2 weeks to go get it taken care of, to, have some therapy, figure it out, get it under control.
Yeah.
Well, her mom's a very hard woman, because her mom never says heal. Her mom says get it under control.
Well, no, that was my interpretation.
Yeah, her mom's specific word was like, you've got to get this under control.
Yeah, no, her mom isn't very soft.
But come to find out, her mom does really take care of her real well. But, so she's gone for 2 weeks. The whole 2 weeks, again, nothing's happened. Nobody's dying. Everybody thinks, okay, great, it's over. Claire's dead. It's all over. Margo comes back. They all reunite. Everybody's happy. Yeah. Allison and Dylan, again, he still thinks it's Lennon, but they've kind of come to a truce with each other. And they're getting along, holding hands, being friendly, that sort of thing. And Margo comes back, and they all have a great day together. Once they're all reunited and stuff, it's like somebody was waiting for them to all be reunited because the killings start up again, notes start up again. Yeah. It all starts up again.
It goes right back into what you're used to. I know what you did last summer.
And so the teens are all kind of like, okay. And again, all we have left now are Allison, Margo, and Dylan. And they're all like, okay, well, clearly it wasn't Clara. Margo and Allison grow closer. And again, Margo still thinks it's Lennon, who she's deeply in love with, like obsessively in love with. And so Margo's seems like she's on top of the world because she's finally got Lennon's full attention, which is all she's ever wanted. But I think it's really Allison that's starting to fall for Margo because Margo treats her well. She's never had anyone treat her as well as Margo does.
I never thought that this was a Lennon thing. I think that it really is Allison starting to like her and fall for her. They start to cuddle more often.
Yeah,
they start
kiss.
To kiss.
They have sleepovers.
Yep. And I think it's doing her some good.
Yeah.
So I guess what I mean is the point of this is the relationship is at this point is starting to become as important to Allison as it is to
Margo.
Yeah.
Only Margo still thinks it's Lennon.
Exactly.
Or so we think. But Dylan, meanwhile, has come under suspicion from the cops because he's creepy.
Like, he's just weird.
He's weird and he's creepy and he says weird, creepy things.
Yeah, and he's got this demeanor all the time where he's just, he's that
permanently
loner.
Depressed.
Yeah, he's that dark guy in the corner that everyone's like, oh, he's mysterious, about, but he's not cool. He's weird.
He's the kid in the black trench coat that you're like, will he shoot up the school?
Right.
Like, he's got that vibe.
And he goes back to the cave a lot and is etching the names in there. And
he goes back to put Riley's name in there at some point.
It just feels... Because at this point, you don't know he's full-on cult member.
Right.
You know, we suspect.
Right.
But
because his moms, he's raised by 2 moms, and his moms own, like, they're hippies, and they own, like, a hippie store that sells all kinds of natural, handmade stuff. So you, like, part of it, you're just like, okay, well, maybe he's just a weird hippie kid.
Yeah.
But no, because I don't think his moms were part of the cult.
No,
So
I never got that
think he picks
impression.
it up from Clara.
Yeah.
But yeah, at some point, Allison can no longer take lying to Dylan. And so when he comes over, she confesses that she's Allison. First they have sex. And again, he thinks he's having sex with Lennon again. He fully believes Allison's dead, but the same way that she has started to warm up to Margot, he has started to warm up to Lennon, who he's been pissed at this whole time because he blamed her for Allison's death.
And the rape.
Yeah, and sleeping with him to make Allison that upset that she would be out on the road.
Because he was not happy about that, by the way.
He was not happy to have had sex and then have it had been filmed and all that stuff.
No,
rightfully so.
Exactly.
So, but again, he's the same way she's been warming up to Margot, he's been warming up to Lennon, and so he shows up at her window, and they make out that turns into them having sex, and this is Allison losing her virginity, because again, she's not Lennon. Lennon was the promiscuous one. Allison was, like, waiting for Dylan or whatever. And so she tells Dylan she can't hold it in. And
afterwards,
she tells him, and she's like, I'm Allison, and she's like, didn't you... And he's like, why would you do that? Like, why would you lie? Because he's still thinking it's Lennon pulling a joke, a sick joke. And he's like, why would you joke like that? That's horrible. And she's like, well, didn't you notice during the sex that it was different? And he's like, well, I was drugged out of my mind. Like, I don't know.
I mean, that's fair.
And so she winds up convincing him that, yes, she is Allison. And now he hates her because he's like, you just basically did what Lennon did to me, which was trick me into bed and lie to me. Like... And plus, this is fucked up. Like, you've been pretending to be Lennon this whole time, but Lennon's the really... What
yeah,
the
no,
fuck?
he's not wrong.
Like, yeah, I get why he's pissed. Yeah. And he even tried to go the next morning to the police to tell them. But Allison and Bruce got to him first. Because remember, Bruce is he's now engaged. Their relationship, by the way, during the 2 weeks of peace, Bruce and Lila, the sheriff, came out about their relationship. They got engaged, so the whole town knows that they're together now.
Yep.
So Bruce had already gotten to Layla, because Allison, as soon as Dylan left, she's like, I fucked up. So she went to tell her dad that she had told Dylan the truth, and so the dad went to the sheriff and was like, this kid is stalking my daughter. We have surveillance video of him outside her window, and because he had been driving by in the truck a lot, and they have all this video evidence that points to him stalking Lennon.
Which his excuse for it is, I stalk everybody. I have to make sure that they're okay at night.
Which again, I was like, dude, that's not helping your case.
Right? I'm like, dude, red flag.
But he goes to the police, and they're like, okay, so that's your story, but we have them saying that you're stalking her.
Right.
And what you're saying is crazy. What they're saying, they can back up with video evidence. But he does get the sheriff thinking. And so she decides that she's just going to confirm that it was Lennon who died. Or not Lennon. It was Allison who died. She wants to confirm which twin is really the dead one.
Yeah.
So she steals the photos off of Bruce's desk. He's got photos of the girls, and they're both the same in them, but once is Allison, once is Lennon.
They are mirrored image, though.
Yeah,
like,
they are mirrored image, so they're facing each other.
Yeah.
So she takes those, and she takes them to the criminal investigation guy, and she's like, can you compare these photos to your records from your autopsy on the girl and tell me definitively which one is dead? And he's like, I can try. Like,
I like the way he asks her, well, is there any, like, nude photos?
Right. He's like,
Lennon?
Nudes would be better. And she looks at him, and he's like, for full bot, like, to see scars and stuff.
I get it, but it was just funny because then she goes, I don't think your dad would have that.
And I'm like, but her OnlyFans would.
Yeah. That's what I said. I'm like, well, there's probably nudes there.
Right, just go get her OnlyFans. Yeah. Like, you guys know about it. You found the account, so.
And they do figure out.
Yep, what happens, and I love this. This is how far in advance Bruce has planned to protect his daughter. But, he comes back, the medical examiner comes back, and he's like, yep, if you see right up here, Allison has a piercing in her ear that Lennon doesn't. So it was Allison who was killed. Come to find out, what happened is Bruce had switched the pictures in the frames, because who's gonna know?
No, right,
so
exactly.
He made it so that the picture of Lennon was Allison, so that when they compared the body to the picture, they're like, yeah, well, it's Allison.
Criminal mastermind right here.
I was like, way to think it through, dude.
Yeah, no, her dad...
It's almost like he had been plotting this his whole life. Like, he was just waiting for one of them to die, and he's like, okay, if one of them dies, here's my plan.
Yeah, because at one point I turned to her and I was like, well, how do we know he hasn't done this before? Like, was there another time where you had to switch the person at babies and he go swap them? Like,
it's just nuts.
Yeah.
It's just nuts. I love it so much, but it's nuts.
This is what I mean. Soap opera CW show right here.
Right. It's fantastic.
You don't need the slasher. You do, though.
You do.
You really do.
So Margot and Dylan are now, because Dylan has gone to Margot and is like, it's Allison. She told me it's Allison. And Margot's like, well, I don't think it is, but maybe. And so they decide that they're going to try and either get her to confess again or find evidence. So Margot is talking to her and she, because Allison went over to kind of complain about Dylan and that he was mad at her, but didn't tell her why. But yeah, and she's like, maybe it could be Dylan as the killer, and Margot's like, yeah, maybe, and she goes to hit the record, try it, because she's gonna try and get her to confess to being Allison. It doesn't work. No,
I think something happens and she almost kind of calls her out on it, but then she's got excuses.
Yeah,
just like
it's like Margot's trying to give her every chance to tell her the truth, and she's not taking it, which comes into play later. Margot's like, okay, well, I'm going to go to Clara's, and I'm going to see if I can find any more evidence. So she goes to Clara's, and she goes down into this, like, tunnel thing, and she finds the goat body.
This is not a place you should be alone
that goes with the head from the beginning.
It's such a horror movie trope. She's all by herself. It's dark. It's
I'm
wet,
like, girl, what the fuck are you doing?
And she just keeps going deeper and deeper. And
deeper
I'm like,
and deeper
why?
and deeper. Now, while this is happening, while she's exploring this, Allison is talking to her mother because and we're in the last episode now, but the previous episode to that, you see the mother call the dad, and she's like, "Why wouldn't you tell me our daughter died?" And he's like, "I didn't think you'd care," like, or something like that. And come to find out that she comes to town not because her daughter has died, but because she wants to get some, she found out Clara had died, and she wants to get some cult Bible from her so that she can go start the cult somewhere else.
Which I have suspicions her mom already has, or at least is planning on starting it.
They just need this Bible that Clara had or whatever.
Yeah. Again, this is why I was panicking that her mom was going to be the killer.
Right. Really. And so Bruce tells her, he's like, you might as well just leave town again and don't let Lennon see you. Because, again, he's trying to pull it off to their mother that this is Lennon and not Allison. And so he's like, don't let Lennon see you. Just leave town because I gave the Bibles with the cops after the cult died. So you're not going to be able to get it anyway because cops think you're dead because you wanted to fake your own death. So what are you going to do? You're going to walk into the cop station and ask for the Bible?
Right, exactly.
It's like, bitch, you did this. Like, you wanted to be dead. You're dead. Now what?
Did they ever say how she faked her death?
I don't remember. But she wanted to be dead. And so he told the girls that she was dead. And so he tells Allison, she's got questions. And so he tells her, yeah, your mom left because she couldn't be with us and all this stuff. And he tries to make the mom, he tries to make the mom sound kind of okay. But when you meet the mom and Allison is talking to the mom and she's like, why couldn't we, she's like, why? Why would you fake your death and leave? And she's like, I missed my family. And she's like, we were right here. And she's like, no, not you guys. She's like, I miss my cult family. Like, she's like, after they all died, I tried to settle down with your dad, and we had you guys, and I tried to be a mom, but like, no, that wasn't for me. And I'm like, what a bitch. Yeah, because her mom, then this is what I was talking about earlier. Her mom, when Allison walks out, her mom sees her and instantly is like, Allison, I thought you died. Right? Yeah. So she knows which twin is which. So clearly she's a good enough mother to realize which twin is which, but not a good enough mother to actually, like, care
No.
or raise them or love them. Like,
or miss them or anything. Like, and even when she has the opportunity, there's no hug, there's nothing. It's just, she knows immediately it's Allison, but
no,
it's just
she doesn't
terrible.
care. She doesn't care.
She doesn't care.
And she doesn't even ask about, like, well, why is your dad claiming you're Lennon? Like,
Right.
she does not ask. She doesn't care.
It's not important. Well, whatever.
She's there for her Bible book or
Yeah,
whatever.
because she's like, Allison, I thought you died. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You thought the mother died, so at one point they thought each other was
Right.
dead. And now it's
Soap
like,
opera!
goes, oh my God. So opera.
The mom, fucks off and leaves or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Allison goes to Dylan to try and, like, apologize to him in any way that she can. And while with him, they both get a call or a ding from
A FaceTime.
A FaceTime
Yeah.
from Margot, who she's, like, all bloody and stuff. Because she had been shoved through a glass door. So she already had cuts and stuff on her face, but she survived her attack. Mm-hmm. She's the only person so far to have survived an attack from the killer.
And I do want to point out, they do show the attack.
Yeah,
And
they show her being shoved.
Somebody's shoving her. He's in a hoodie, and she's shoving her through the
Which
window.
is why because before we started the final episode, he's like, final thoughts. And I was like, well, the only thing I have is that it bothers me that Margot survived her attack. Because no one else did. Everyone else who has met the killer was killed. But Margot survives, and all she had done to her was she was shoved through a glass door. Like, they didn't come in and stab her afterwards to make sure it's done.
And,
nothing.
yeah.
Just a glass door. So she just had cuts and stuff all over her.
Yeah. So we were thinking is either...
But then he was like, but they show her being pushed.
Right, that's
like,
my point.
And I'm like, oh, well.
So she couldn't have flung herself through. So now I'm thinking, who's her accomplice? So I'm thinking she's working with Dylan.
Nope. Turns out it's Kyle.
That's not right.
But anyway, so they get this FaceTime from Margot telling them that she's in trouble. Come to Claire's quick. You got to get here fast. Hurry, help. Blah, blah, blah. And then cuts out before she can tell them anything more. So
Red
they're like,
flag.
well, we've got to go get her. We've got to go save her. Because, again, Allison is kind of having feelings for Margot now. I think she kind of loves her.
Yeah.
And I think Dylan's just going to do whatever Dylan's gonna do.
Dylan's gonna
Dylan's gonna Dylan.
Dylan's gonna Dylan.
So he goes with her, and they go to Clara's, and they go down there, and they see the dead goat, and keep going. And they find this giant, like, stone room. They see her mom is lying on something dead. And Dylan's like, who's that? And she's like, my mom. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, and he hugs her or something. And I was like, that sucks. Like,
yeah.
Because again, since he's known her, he thought her mom was dead. So, like, he didn't know who the fuck that bitch was. So, mom's dead. Mm-hmm. Not that sad about it. Like, I was way more upset when Courtney died. Like, Riley's mom meant more to me.
In fact, even when I saw the body, I didn't recognize her. I thought it was Lennon's body.
No, and I was like, no, it's her mom, because I could kind of tell from the haircut, and then she comes out and is like, because he's like, who is that? She's like, my mom. And I was like, see? It's her mom.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because she's covered in blood.
I was gonna say, yeah, she's a mess.
She's a mess. She got fucked up. So Dylan is trying, they've already established there's no signal down there. So Dylan's like walking around. He walks off a little bit trying to find. Meanwhile, Allison is walking off because she thinks she hears Margot crying. So she's walking this way. Dylan's walking this way. Mm-hmm. Dylan gets hit in the back of the head.
You don't see it. You hear it.
You hear it. You see him go down.
Yeah.
But you don't see who hit him.
The reason why I bring that up is because I'm thinking he's faking this whole thing. I'm thinking the phone call is fake. I'm thinking the hit in the head is fake.
Which I didn't. I thought he was really trying to call the cops. Because I figured he was a red herring at this point. But he wakes up locked in a room that he somehow winds up busting out of. But he wakes up in a room while Allison follows the cries to Margot, who's sitting there, all sad or whatever. And Margot winds up stabbing her and confessing that she knew, and that she knew she wasn't Lennon, that she could tell as soon as she went to college and started posting on social media, that she knew she was Allison and not Lennon, because everything was off. Her cadence was off. The way she used emojis was off. Like, everything, the way that Lennon would post on social media was completely different from the way Allison was pretending to be Lennon posting. Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking from the beginning, was like, if you're close to somebody, really close to somebody, you should know little things
and Margot
about
did.
them. And
Margot did.
She just
this
didn't tell
whole
us.
time
Yeah.
Margot knew that was Allison and not Lennon. And she tells her, she's like, I gave you every chance to tell me the truth. I gave you every chance. I told you the goat head was about something else and not the hit and run. But you had to go and blah, 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 and goes into her little, evil person rant that they all do. And Lennon's laying there, like, bleeding out from her stab wound on the ground or whatever. And Dylan comes in, and he's like, oh my God, what happened? And he realizes it's Margot, and Margot's got a gun, because Dylan's like, you're not going to die here. And Margot pulls out the gun, and she's like, yeah, she is.
I thought in that second she was just going to shoot her.
Yeah.
But
so
of course
Dylan
not.
lunges forward, grabs the gun, wrestles the gun away from her, points the gun at her. Margot sees that the cops are coming in and instantly breaks down into, please don't shoot me, put the gun down.
It's great.
It's great.
It's great.
The way she
acting.
turns, yeah. I'm so sad that none of these kids are gonna get Emmy nods. Like they all did great. Same for the Chucky series, but we'll get into that in Chucky. But she's victim, and he's like, no, it's her. She stabbed Lennon. She's trying to kill me, and I got the gun. And but he puts the gun down and he gets down. And as he's blaming Margot, Lila is like, okay, well, you get down too, because I don't know.
Right.
And so she goes to talk to Allison, and she's like, Lennon, what happened? And Allison's looking at both of them, and she winds up saying it was Dylan. She blames Dylan.
Yep.
And Margot kind of looks at her like,
and of the two, the cops are going to more lean towards Dylan because he's the weird guy in town.
They already suspected him.
They've already suspected him because even when he came to tell the officer about, he tried telling her that she wasn't Allison, she was Lennon. Right. He tried confessing everything, and she already had, because the dad showed up before him and was like, so he was fucked. Yeah.
And I was telling him, I love that point in horror movies. It happened in Squid Games. It happened here. They say it all the time in Chucky. Like, I love that point where they have to go to the police and explain what is going on, because it always sounds insane. And the cops are always like...
Yeah, because that's the horror movies are insane.
Right, it's insane. Like, you say it out loud, it's insane.
They're extreme circumstances.
Right, so you go to the cops and you're like, okay, so I just slept with this girl, and she told me that she's really her sister who we hit and run, but we got rid of the body, but now all of these people are dead because someone is trying to get to us because they know that we killed, like... It's a lot, like
it is. It's a lot. It's complicated. And I can see. Like, I'll bet you could take any horror movie and try to pitch it to the police,
right?
And it'd be hilarious.
It works great for any. That's a new show we should do.
That's a new show. Yeah.
Somebody walks into the police station and describes a horror movie, and you gotta figure out what horror movie it is.
This is. We're gonna do this.
But yeah, so. Dylan gets taken away the whole time being like, what the fuck? Like, no, what? And Allison gets put in the ambulance, and Margot rides with her, and Margot's like sitting there playing with her like cord that's feeding her oxygen and being real creepy about it. But then she winds up saying like, I can't believe you did that for me. Like, I've never loved anyone more than I've loved you. Mm-hmm. And so it clearly her obsession has transferred from Lennon to now Allison.
Yeah.
Which is fine, because Allison obviously likes her enough that she's sending the wrong person to jail and letting the person who killed her now be her or who tried to kill her now be her girlfriend.
Which, again, this is when you... Maybe a little before this, actually, but this is one of the points you really start losing it for Allison, where you're like, okay, well, she's not a good person anymore.
Yeah, like, I mean, she hasn't been a good person for a while.
That's why, it really wasn't, but this was like
slam the door shut. Okay, she's a bad person. So the end of the series, they show like clips of them, and it's Allison and Margot dressed in white, meeting on this cliff, and then walking away together, holding hands.
I was like, push her off.
I thought for sure. And then Dylan is in the jail, and he's got Clara's Bible. Mm-hmm. And he's reading from the Bible, the cult Bible, to all these other prisoners in jail with him.
I'm like, well, there's this cult
it's like,
now.
Okay, well, all right. And I'm like, okay, well, that sort of leaves it open for, a sequel, I guess.
Yeah, you were saying
But then here's where they really put it down to a sequel. Because the reason they arrested Dylan is because Margot had gone and put a whole bunch of stuff in Dylan's house, including Riley's arm. So Riley's severed arm, pretty big clue to the cops that maybe this kid had something to do with it. So they're at the very end, they're taking the arm and they're gonna go put it in cold storage in the evidence locker or whatever. And so they open the freezer and they put the arm in, and there you see they've still got Riley's body all covered in honey, sitting in cold storage. Don't know why, but they do.
I was like, what the
maybe they couldn't get an autopsy right away. Like, but I was like, but we saw, like, they had a grave for this girl or a memorial or whatever. Like, whatever. So they zoom in on her face and her eyes open. So Riley is maybe alive. So that's to lead into a season 2, I think.
So here's my theory. In season 2, Riley's going to get a hook hand.
Right.
And a raincoat.
Oh, God, I hope so.
Killing people.
Oh, God, I hope so.
That would be amazing.
That would be amazing. Just, yeah, it's up to here, so the hook would have to be like...
she could get a long hook or something,
I guess.
maybe. Or maybe
hook on the end of like a selfie stick.
Yeah, they'll change a selfie stick.
I don't know, but yeah, it'd be like Riley and Dylan teaming up and like... starting a cult.
Some weird...
I don't know.
Because Riley's got to be pissed the fuck off. Nobody gives a fuck about her.
Right.
She's just left to die. Like, this poor girl.
Her death is the one I felt the most bad about.
Right.
Like,
she suffers and somehow doesn't die this whole time. Maybe it's the honey keeping her alive somehow.
Right. Maybe the cult thing did something that Dylan did for her. Like,
I don't know. It's so weird. Like, I think season 2 is going to be like batshit crazy if they do it.
And I'm here for it. I'm all here for it.
Because how is Riley going to come back and just be like, okay, I'm fine.
Right.
You know, she's going to start killing people, and rightfully so.
I would say so,
like,
yeah.
The next series should be from her point of view, and you're rooting for her. Like, yep, kill a bitch.
I would root for her, too, because frankly, there's no one else to root for in this series that's left alive. Like, the dad's a dick. Like, Allison and Margot, dicks. Like, Dylan, creepy dick. Like, there's no one to root for.
No,
like,
but please, Amazon gods, give her a hook hand. You have to.
Hook hand, fisherman outfit, Riley the fisherman. I would watch the fuck out of it forever.
The Riley fisherman.
I would watch it. So I would say, overall, I definitely enjoyed this series.
Yes, I did too. Again, I know we keep beating this to death. It would be better as a streamer.
Right.
I'll binge it. So hopefully maybe next time they won't. I don't know what the ratings are like.
Knocking, sorry.
No one is really talking about this show that I've seen. I have no idea how well it's doing.
I think it should have more buzz because I think it just got lost in, because it came out in October when all of these other premieres were happening. And I think it just got kind of lost. But I do hope that people watch it, that they start spreading the word about it, because I do think it's worth it. And I would like it to get enough attention that they get a season 2, because I'd like to see where it goes.
I would too. I would love to see where it goes. And maybe by 3rd season, it'll be a corpse coming back to life and just kills
Lennon comes back to life and just kills everybody.
Okay, so we're going to end this, but I do want to say that I thought what my theory was that I was holding on to the best, not the Dylan thing, was that first I thought Lennon was not dead, because in the I Know What You Did Last Summer Hall movie thing,
David's not David, but Ben
is not dead. So, of course, we find out, I don't know what episode, that wasn't true. So then I thought, well, maybe, and I think she kind of helped me come up with this, that maybe Lennon and Allison are split personality. She took on her personality. And
something snapped up here.
So those are options for season 2, guys. Like, if you need to bring Lennon back.
I mean, I'll write a season 2 if you want me to. Like, I'm that determined to see season 2. I will write it.
So I think the best thing about it, I'll end it on this, the most fun thing about the show was guessing.
Yes.
Because this show kept you guessing, and you got to play along. They didn't fuck us over with making it the mom.
No.
So good on them. And I remember having that same fun with the Scream series, the first 2 seasons, not third.
The 3rd season's shit.
But it was good, and it kept you guessing, and it was fun, and I love the characters, and I love the modernization of it. Yep. So
I think the difference between Scream and this show was with the Scream TV series, we did like the characters. Like Noah and...
That's true. Yeah, they were fun.
Noah and Aubrey, we love Noah and Aubrey. Yeah. Even though Aubrey was kind of a bitchy dick character. She was not a good person, but we still liked her.
Yep.
And her and Noah together, their dynamic. Like,
I would have followed a series about them after Scream.
Exactly.
This one, not really.
Yeah.
But, and I guess that's the thing. Like, but again, horrible people does not mean a horrible show.
No. Absolutely not. And it was good storytelling all throughout. Yeah,
I do like it. It's very melodramatic. It's very convoluted. I'm sure we missed some things.
Yeah, some important things, but that's why you should go watch it.
That's exactly why you should go watch it. It's free on Amazon to watch if you have Amazon Prime. If you like horror, you like the previous movies.
Yep.
It's way different.
It's way different.
But it's cool.
But in a good way.
Yeah, look how much fun we had talking about it. So, all right, I think that's our show.
Yep. Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes. Bye, guys.
Good night, good night.
I forgot my line.